Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm assuming you can all hear me. I've seen mostly black boxes, a couple pictures. Thank you for those of you that are sharing the camera with me. I appreciate it. Um, I'm just going to start off by going through what a day in the life of a middle school at AMS would look like. Hopefully, in that, in this presentation, it should only be about 20 minutes or so. It'll give you a bunch of answers, and then at the end of the 20 minutes, let parents shoot answers and questions at me as they need them, because I know there are some singleton concerns. What I will ask though is that if there are certain questions that are more of a private nature, out of respect for your child, you can use the chat feature. You can reach out to me, individually. Just want to respect, all the students and their particular needs, but I also want to respect your students' privacy. So if there's things from an IEP nature or anything like that that you'd like to discuss, I can stay on a little bit longer afterwards, or we could also set up a Zoom meeting one-on-one. I've had plenty of those with parents, and sometimes those are the most beneficial uses of our time, is just to give you that extra time for those questions to be answered. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start. And I realize I will not answer every single question tonight, but I'm going to do the best of my ability to do so. All right. So right now, you should be seeing a slide that says Avondale Middle School. Are we seeing that? Okay. When your student wakes up, if your student is choosing to be in seat, every student is going to be asked to fill out this ClearToGo app. Now, there's two ways to do it. Some students have cell phones, which is great for this particular app. Other students may not have that phone. The parent may not need to fill that out for them. So if a student's choosing to come to school, before they get on the bus, we would like the parent and the student to fill this out together. It's a 5-question survey, and it'll give you a green or a red badge. Obviously, if it's a green badge, you're clear to go. If it's a red badge, you would not be clear to go. And then at that point, you can contact counselor or administrator to find out, okay, what's our next step? The school gets a report of that every day. Now, we do realize that there are going to be some times where technology is a bit of an issue. So, or the parent may have to leave for work before the student is able to sign on to that ClearToGo app. We have a bit of a fail-safe for that. We'll get into in a second. But the ClearToGo app, this is something that you may have already seen. It's attached to our website. It gives you a little bit more information on the ClearToGo app. And this is something that we can also provide to you on the website. I believe it's also in the newsletters I've sent out as well. This will give you much more information about what the ClearToGo app does. It's just that screener, the COVID screener, to make sure that we're minimizing any risk at the beginning of the day and throughout the day. So as your students gets to the bus stop, ideally they would have done the ClearToGo app and they got the green badge and they're coming with a mask. We are going to recommend that they bring 2 masks, one for the morning, one for the afternoon. If you can't do that, we'll have masks at the school for you as well. But we would hope that the students try to at least provide themselves one a day. Put your mask on. They would get on the bus, walk towards the end of the back of the bus. The buses, we're going to ask that it's not as free as it may have been in the past, just to limit passing by people. The bus drivers may be asking your students to walk right to the end of the bus where the seats are still available. That way we can refrain from walking by our friends and all that, just for more of a traffic safety net, if you will. But they're going to ask that the students keep filling up from the back forward. Stay seated until the bus arrives at Avondale Middle School, and then the bus driver will dismiss starting from the front. That way we're just minimizing people touching and bumping into each other, just safe for our students. Now there'll be 3 entrances once the students get off the bus or they get dropped off, depending if they're walkers or parents dropping them off. So you'll see that Ms. Gomez and I have a little sign there for you, but we have 3 signs, one for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And they're all going to be in the front little vestibule area of the yard of the middle school. Each grade will have their sign, and that's the door they will enter. What we're trying to do is avoid bottlenecking our students. We want to make sure that each student grade has their own entrance to the school to minimize any type of social interaction from, and create that 6-foot space, that ideal 6 foot of social distancing. Students will report directly to their first hour class. That's where we'll be serving breakfast. Now, not all students will have had breakfast. Some of them will, some of them may have not. And then that's also where we're going to double check in the ClearToGo screener. So students will be asked, hey, can you show me on your Chromebook or show me on your phone, do you have your green badge? If not, the teacher will ask them to make sure that gets filled out. If they have a red badge, or they're not able to fill that out, that's where we would work them towards, send them towards the health room, and we may have parents come pick them up. This is something that all of our school buildings are doing, to make sure that our students are safe, to make sure that the parents are in contact with us about their students' health, and to make sure that we're doing our due diligence for contact tracing. This is a look at our schedule. So 7:53 to 9:43 would be our first hour class. At that time, we are only going to allow students in the building beginning at 7:42. So that's something that we will be publishing. But the reason we're doing that, we're trying to minimize the traffic in the hallways at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. We want the students, once they get into the class, to go right to their class, because hallways in the middle school and the high school can be quite jam-packed. Even though we won't have our full population back, some people are choosing remote. We still want to limit the traffic in the hallways. So you'll notice that they have, let's see if I can see a little red dot there. There's a 10-minute passing period right here. That 10 minutes is so students can get kind of a break. Also, we're going to be cleaning the desks, and teachers are going to have to clean the desk, prepare for their next class. So during that 10 minutes, we are going to be shutting down most of, but not all of, the bathrooms, because bathrooms tend to become a hangout, and we're trying to limit that, the attraction to go hide in the bathroom. We will have one bathroom open, and during class time, we are going to have scheduled bathroom breaks. We're still working out how that schedule is going to be worked out per hallway. But this 10 minutes, students are to be walking around in a one-way traffic style, which I'll go over in the map shortly. So you'll see that A through L, right as of right now, this may change depending on our survey results, but A through L would be our Monday and Tuesday classes. And then M through Z would be our Thursday and Friday classes. I have had some parents say, look, I have a issue with a ride, or I have an issue, my student that last name starts with a P, could they possibly go on the A through L cohort days? That's something that Dr. Schwartz has allowed us as building principals to make the decision on. If it fits and if it keeps our numbers level and equal, then that's something I would definitely be doing on a case-by-case basis. You'll notice that throughout the day, Once we get to lunch times, which are right down here, lunch times are a little bit earlier than I like and more staggered than I like. But the reason we're doing that is we need a 15-minute cleaning period for each lunch period. We want once the students leave, we want to be able to make sure every desk and every chair is wiped down, and those students have an ample amount of time of making sure that they're taking their belongings, because we will not be using lockers. They are going to be having their backpacks and coats with them. So that 15-minute cleaning period, especially for our 8th grade lunch, which is at the end, it's the last lunch, they'll be bringing their stuff with them. So, they'll have to carry that during that passing period. Mustang time, we get some questions about. This is just a 10-minute staggered release time. Once again, we're trying to avoid the bottleneck of everybody leaving at once. So depending on what our surveys come back on the 25th, how many busers, how many walkers, or parent pickups we have, we're going to decide how we're going to dismiss students at that time, just to make sure that we're limiting this, we're limiting any type of interaction with students and being too close to each other and bottlenecking at the entrances and exits. Now, Wednesday, this is a day that we're still working out. It says asynchronous office hours, but really we're going to have office hours. We're going to have some school-wide assignments. What we're trying to do is limit the amount that we're adding to students. I don't want to say that one teacher has 3 hours of homework that they just assigned, another one didn't assign any. That's something that I've heard, not just from parents here, but of my own student's school, my own child. We're trying to make sure that Wednesdays are meaningful for our staff, meaningful for our students, while we're also giving some time for that cleaning of the building and getting ready for the next group of kids. So that's something that I'll have in greater detail for you, but I want to discuss things with my staff first before I put that out to the general public. So Thursday and Friday will be our M through Z students. Now, one of the questions that often come up at this time is, so I'm only getting 2 days of instruction. No. So let's say my last name starts with A. So I have Monday and Tuesday, 3 classes each day InSeat. Now on Thursday and Friday, I'll have those same 2 classes, but not repeating lessons. I'll have 2 new lessons. So they're still getting new lessons. They're just going to be learning remotely or learning in person. So it's not like they have a day off in those remote days. Some people are confused by that. This is I'm learning InSeat on Monday and Tuesday with my last name being an A, and I'm learning remotely on Thursday and Friday. And then the students that are remote will also be joining us all 4 days. Go ahead and move on. What will it be like in a classroom? Desks will be socially distanced depending on the size of the classroom and the amount of students, 3 to 6 feet apart. InSeat students will be sitting at desk with their device on Zoom. Remote students in opposite A or B cohort, as I just said, will be in class via Zoom as well. Students will continue to be turned in. Student work will be continued turned in digitally. We are not going to be pushing a lot of paper and pencil assignments because we don't want that contamination coming home with not only our students, but with our teachers as well. So digitally is the preferable way of collecting work. All hallway, bathroom, office travel passes will be filled out digitally by the students to track movement and to record contact tracing. So Ms. Gomez has continued to work on a form that the students will have very quick access to. They don't have to ask permission to fill it out. They can say, hey, Mr. Ort, I just filled out, can I use the restroom? And they're just going to say, Jason Ort, going to the restroom, 1 o'clock. And it tells us where that gives us all the information that we need to know. We're also going to use the same thing for passes to go see counselors, or if a student needs to get pulled out to go to another classroom for any type of IEP services. There will be predetermined stretch breaks for individual classes. Just, we realize these block schedules are a lot for those kids, and we're going to have breaks built in for them. We're still discussing whether or not we're going to be able to do mass breaks effectively and safely. So that's something that I know most schools that I've talked to are not doing them. That's something that, like I said, I need to talk to staff about. So, I don't want to give you any information of yes, we're going to do them or no, we're not. I'm not certain as to the logistical manner in which we could do them, not only safely from the social distancing standpoint, but going outside when it's 10 degrees in February, not the best idea. So there's a lot of things that have to still be discussed about that. Passing period protocols. These are just some of the signs that will be on the floor in the hallway. Ms. Gomez has also reached out and updated some of our Mustang Mania value posters that'll be not only in the hallways, but in the classroom, promoting social distancing and proper social behavior in the classroom. As I said before, all but one bathroom will be closed during passing period to discourage large gatherings. The open bathroom will be monitored by Safe Ed to make sure we only have three kids per bathroom at the time. So the kids will have to use the restroom and get out during passing period. But during class period, we will have bathroom passes be available for those students. Hallway traffic will be one direction with roundabouts and intersections to avoid students bumping into each other. So what I mean by that is right in this area here, this area here, and this area here are three areas where there's a lot of congestion because this is the 6th grade hallway, and this is where the 6th grade would enter at the beginning of the day. 8th grade would be in the counseling, 7th grade would be by the gym. So when a student leaves 205 and goes out here, and let's say they have to go to the gym, well, usually they'll cut through here while another kid's going this way. And next thing you know, they're bumping into each other. What we're going to do is we're going to have something in the middle hallway, whether it's a circular table or some type of signage where the kids have to respect some type of roundabout manner to make sure that they're not bumping into each other. Also, we're going to encourage one-way walking. So sometimes room 205, the student from 205 may have to go to room 200. Well, the best thing they could do is get a walk in, because they have the 10 minutes, get stretch. They can walk with their friends, but obviously in a socially distanced manner. There will be yellow tape that separates all the hallways for traffic going one way versus the other way. So I figured at the very least, by the time our students are sophomores, they will be very safe drivers because there's going to be yellow lines in all the school buildings. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else on the map that I needed to show you. Oh, so the cafeteria auditoria is right here. For those lunch, to make sure that we have proper social distancing during lunch. Right now we have the auditoria partially set up, but we're also going to put into use the auxiliary gym depending on the size, the amount of students that are returning. These are they don't look close to each other, but they're fairly close to each other. And so these are two areas that the students will be eating at single desks. They will not be at tables. This is just an example right here of the desk that they would be sitting at for lunch. Snack lunches are permitted. Microwaves will not be allowed to be used at this time. I already went over this daily scheduled link. Dismissal. So students will be dismissed in a staggered manner to avoid jamming up as they exit through the doors. The 6th, 7th, and 8th grade will exit through the doors they came through in the morning. All students must have a predetermined way home. We will not be allowing students to wait in the building for their rides. I know in the past, and this was true at my old building as well, some students would, hang out. We cannot do that. We do not have the manpower to watch it, nor would it be considered a safe practice. So if your student is a busser, we expect them on the bus. If they're a walker, we expect them to walk. And if you've made arrangements for them to be picked up, we need to make sure that they are picked up in a timely fashion. What will my student need for school? They need their Chromebook. Now, if you're currently using a desktop, please on your enrollment form, make sure that you put your student will need a computer. We have them ready to go. We just need to know if you need one or not. But this will be their textbook. This will be their pencil, their paper. This is their mode for learning. So please make sure that if you don't already have school portable school technology, that you fill out in that enrollment commitment form that you will need it. Some of the responsibility, though, with one-to-one being a one-to-one district is also making sure that you've charged your device every night. Those devices at the end of the day are going to be down below 20%. Sometimes they may not last, the entire day, which is why classrooms will be outfitted with some charging stations. But make sure that your child is charging that before they leave. They will be allowed to have backpacks. They will be allowed to have coats. They'll be bringing them from class to class. And the 8th graders will have to bring it with them to lunch. I would still, just in case, bring a pencil, pen, and notebook. I do recommend doing that, as well as a digital or paper planner. Now, just so you know, with the email system that the school provides, you do have a good digital planner, but we also have the Avondale Middle School planner as well. So this is one that we've been working on. So my student takes high school courses. Let's say they have first hour, because that's pretty much, I think, any student that has high school courses, it's going to be in their first hour. If they're choosing InSeat instruction, they'll have one of two options for their first hour. Option one, the middle school student may catch the high school bus to attend the high school class, then receive bus transportation to Avondale Middle School for their second hour. The other option is the student may stay home and virtually attend class for that first hour, and then provide their own transportation to AMS for that second hour. The last two slides, one was club sports and performances. So for the clubs, yes, they're still happening. However, on the days that your student is not in school, if the club is meeting on that day, they would not be able to attend in person for that club. Now, if that becomes an issue, I would anticipate that whoever's running that club may rotate, whether they're Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday. But we are still planning on allowing clubs to continue in person and remote as that club sponsor sees fit. Performances and drama club are still going to be happening. I am working with Miss Johnson. I'm sorry. Yes, Miss Johnson about the drama performance. I just promised her I have to get the stage cleaned off for her once I know how many desks I have available or not available. And then for sports, this is something that is ever changing. We had planned on it, and now we're not sure, because as other schools are changing, it changes our ability to compete and who we're competing with. Currently, I just found out about an hour ago that our wrestling schedule has changed to competing with like Clarkston, Oxford, and Lapeer. And, we're talking about quite a hike for Lapeer. And so there are some things that we're concerned with, not to mention, how do we get those kids to practice every day if they're only here 2 out of the 5 days? So we are not closing the door on sports as of yet. We are still trying to see what things would work and what things would not work. But we also want to make sure everybody has the opportunity that wants to compete, in an equitable manner. Students that receive individualized supports, our student services program and special ed 504 and English language learners will continue to be supported in hybrid or remote. Doesn't matter. If you choose a hybrid remote, you are still going to get all of your supports. Routine communication to caseload providers will help support feedback and the feedback loop that you need for your students' growth. Any necessary schedule adjustments for specialized support will be communicated by the student services staff. So please reach out and let us know. Please let us know if you have any issues. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions. There's one question in the chat about discussing why students will still Zoom while in seated class. The reason for that is because we still have to maintain social distancing. So we can't put them like at a science lab, have them all huddled around one science lab class, like the days of looking through a microscope right now. We would not be able to do that. So in order for us to offer an equitable platform for instruction, we're going to have to stay on Zoom. Now we are still looking at different ways to allow students to collaborate with each other. However, right now Zoom is the safest platform. They may be able to have their camera off because they're right in front of the teacher, but the teacher will be instructing from their desk. They will not be able to be walking around and weaving in between the desk as much as we would normally do in a normal year. Will audio feedback with all students on Zoom be in class? That is something one of our teachers brought up in my staff meeting, concerns for audio feedback and having microphones on. And that's something that technology has been working with us on. I don't see that being the biggest issue because that's something we can turn off the audio, turn it on when the student wants to talk and let the whole class hear. And that's nothing different than they're already doing from their current seat at home. The biggest thing is, the teacher feedback, but we also have the technology in the classrooms that we think that'll be a minimal feedback, if any. That's not one of my greatest concerns. I'm pretty confident that that'll be an issue that works itself out really simply. What will band students do with their instruments? I'm assuming that meaning from carrying them from class to class is what I would assume you mean. Miss Hoffman, I'm sorry to call you out, but could you explain a little bit better?
Not a problem at all. Lily plays a saxophone. So on band days, does she have to bring that saxophone every single band day and carry it around every single class and carry it back to the car? Is that what we're looking at?
That's something that I have not discussed with Ms. Pedersen yet. However, we might be able to accommodate some type of safe room, if you will. My dad was a band director, and if he heard that I said, yeah, they're going to carry it around, he'd go, oh yeah, what about the tuba player? So,
well, yeah.
I'm like, all right, sorry. So that's
their backpacks with all their stuff in their Chromebooks and their laptop. Well, Lily's got a laptop. They're already pretty packed and pretty heavy. So I'm picturing.
Right, and I was trying to work a deal out with Dr. Schwartz for some chiropractic care, but it's just not going to happen right now. So, no, sorry, Dr. Schwartz. No, I would definitely be working something out with Ms. Pedersen to make sure that we have some type of agreed upon area where the students could house their instruments, which is back to that Mustang time part of, we knew that Mustang time at the end, that 10 minutes, your student may need to make that extra 2-minute stop to whether it's the band room or an unused classroom to pick up that instrument So that's definitely something, and I will talk to Ms. Pedersen about. But that would not be my desired outcome for that, and I think we can work that out. Thank you for bringing that up.
All right, thank you.
From Ms. Wanton, okay. For students that have that are diabetic, hypoglycemic, and you're concerned about their blood sugar, that is a medical need. We're not going to stop them from that. But that's something that I would expect them to, ask their teacher if they can have a quick snack. That's not something that we're going to stop a child from doing, especially for a medical need. I don't want it to be considered like a free-for-all, but if a kid has a water bottle and they need to take a quick sip, they can pull up their mask, take a drink, put their mask down. That's reasonable, just like a medical need. So yes, absolutely would work with that. Will the map and the presentation be released to the students prior to returning to school? Yes, the map will. We're also looking at doing some videos. That's something that we definitely, especially for our sixth graders, I want them to feel comfortable when they walk in the building. I don't want to be the blind leading the blind. So we are still working out some logistics on how we're going to do a virtual little tour with our sixth graders. So yes, there will be some direction on how to navigate the hallways at the middle school.
Mr. Ort,
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but when we were previously scheduled to come back, I remember like the sixth graders and the ninth graders at the high school level were going to be there a day or two before the rest of the building. Is that still the plan this time around?
No, that is not. We are trying to. I'm sorry. It was a consideration, but I think it was a unanimous decision that we wanted to get students back as quick as possible. However, that is something that I may send out in my newsletter about having like an orientation, like one-on-one for kids that are like high anxiety. They want to know where they're going. So I may be able to work something out on an individual basis. One of the ideas that Ms. Gomez and I were considering was a virtual walkthrough with us, actually walking to school and answering questions. So there is going to be something for our sixth graders only that I have planned. I just don't want to get into that yet because I haven't worked out all the particulars. But you are 100% right. I don't want the kids coming in there, like I said, blind and scared. And by the way, you got to wear a mask.
They're all in the same boat, right? They're all in the same boat. So.
Yeah, they're all in the same boat, but they at least want to know which direction the ship's headed. So,
yep.
So we want to help them with that. The first day back to school will be the 18th, which is a Thursday. Dismissal is going to be at 2:46. It will be a full day. And this is for virtual as well. Virtual will be following the same schedule as the hybrid schedule. Is there going to be more? Will there be more parking lot? So the question is, are there going to be more help in the parking lot directing traffic and staff? I am working that Mr. Koch and I had already scheduled a meeting at the beginning of this because I had some questions about that very thing. This town hall is not just questions that you need answered. It's questions that you need to ask so I can answer them before the 18th. So this will not be the last time you hear from me. Your sixth graders need to know where to go. You do have concerns about the parking lot, and I want to make sure you know how that runs. So please ask questions. This is just the starting point for the communication that you need. So there is going to be there will be monitoring in the parking lots. There may even be some changes in the parking lots. I was showed some video of the parking lot flow, if you will, and there's some areas where I want to make sure our buses have room to breathe and to get through, and where our teachers, our parents have safe, like have a safe place to park for their students to get picked up. So there are some areas that I'm going to be working with Mr. Koch about to make sure that it's very clearly marked and how our kids can be dropped off and picked up. You know, and don't forget, we are going to have less kids than normal for you 7th and 8th grade parents that have seen, you know, the mayhem at 246. This will be a smaller version of that. So it'll be a good way for me to learn the ropes. Because don't forget, this is as a 6th grade parent, this is not only your first day of school, it's mine too. I'm brand new here. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also kind of like, okay, how's this really going to work here? So we're all in this together. The PLC is the question was, what does PLC mean? PLC is professional learning communities. That's where our teachers are getting together, looking over student data, looking over lessons. You know, it's a professional learning community that also is for professional development as well. All right, at this time, those are all the ones I have in the chat. Is there any questions? If you want to just raise your hand, or you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a quick question.
Hi, this is Suj Sastry. I have a daughter in the middle school. My question was, if someone starts in school and decides that they're not comfortable, something changes, they feel like they need to be home, is that possible? And my second question is, what if they start at home and decide that, I guess, Oakland County thinks things are going better and they increase the number of days in school, can they come back?
Okay, so that's something that's come up in talking with Dr. Schwartz and other principals. It is much easier for us to say, give InSeat a try, and if it's not working, then we can always allow you to return home in the remote. It's not as easy to do the opposite, not only for the scheduling standpoint, but just from the numbers. We really would hope that everybody stays with their decision. I have some autonomy in working on a one-on-one basis, but what's scary about saying that to 74 people right now is I don't want people to say, no, you can change anytime you want. That is not the case. It'll be more on a one-on-one basis, just because it's not as easy as you think just to start going back and forth. So I have told some parents that are unsure that, look, if you're not sure what you want to do before the 18th, reserve yourself an in-seat spot right now. And if before the 18th you say, I'm not comfortable with it, then you call me up, and it's always easier to go back to remote.
Okay, I have another question for you. It was asked earlier, you probably answered it, but when we got terminated and by the time I came back on, you may have already answered it, but will the students who are in hybrid essentially be taking their classes, sitting at a computer doing Zoom lessons along with the other students?
Yes.
Okay.
Were there any other questions? Okay, I have one in the chat. Will there be a bus available to transport students to the Boys and Girls Club? Yes, that is something that we are scheduling right now. Boys and Girls Club have reserved spots for us. Mrs. Arumba, my secretary, is taking the lead on that. But yes, there will be that available and that transportation available. Will the kids have to bring their water bottles, or can they drink from the water fountain? That is a great question. Thank you for asking that. No, they should not plan on drinking from the water fountain. They should bring water bottles that they can refill. We do have those filling stations, one of our filling stations that we can use that's touchless, but we would highly recommend that they bring a water bottle. We will have some of those like really small bottles of water that we can give to kids. but I would highly recommend students bring their own water bottle to drink throughout the day.
And all of our water fountains are closed. Hi, this is Mrs. Gomez. I'm the assistant principal. For those of you who don't know me, the water fountains will be closed. So like they will be inoperable or covered. So kids don't make the mistake of accidentally using the water fountain, but all of the touchless refill, we have 4 touchless refill stations in the building that will be available for students.
Mr. Koch, I have a question that you would be better to answer. It says, will the buses be cleaned after morning drop-offs before they come back at the end of the day?
Sorry about that. I was trying to get unmuted. Yes, each day and after the morning runs, they will come back here after their morning runs, and they will be cleaned from aspect of what our rules are from the county at that point of wiping the seats down, all the touch points. On Wednesday, all the buses that are used are deep cleaned with a fogging system once a week. And of course, after they come in the afternoon, they will be cleaned again, ready to go the next morning. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Mr. Koch. The next question was, will kids that remain virtual be allowed to do after-school activities like track if they're able to have sports activities? The answer is yes. They will be allowed to participate in clubs, in sports, anything like that. So if your student is a track athlete and they're remote, we are not going to be able to transport them from home to practice. So that will be on them, but they will be allowed to participate.
Ms. Lort, I got a question. Are you gonna deactivate the drinking fountains?
Well, they're going to be closed off. Deactivate now. Well, the ones that you can fill up for your water bottle, those will probably work. But when it comes to the drinking fountains, it'll be very clear that you're not supposed to use them. I don't know if we're going to be turning off the water, but we're definitely going to make sure that you know you can't use them.
Okay.
I know that. I have a question. I know there. So the question, a question in the chat was, I know there are other districts that have the capability to have remote students interact with the InSeat class rather than InSeat students having to stare at a screen. Can we do this? The tool we are continuing to use is Zoom. They will be able to do that via Zoom when it comes to a fully streamed classroom. That's not something that we've planned on using. It's a different technology, and a lot of that, in my experience, breaks the social distancing guidelines, if I'm understanding your question correctly. After school clubs are still happening. Yes, you can wear a face shield over a mask if you choose to wear both. Students can choose to bring their own lunch, or they can choose to buy their lunch. The only caveat is we are not allowing microwave use at this time. Are there any other questions? Okay, if you would like, I will stay on if you have specific questions you'd like to. I'm going to stop the recording right now. And if you have specific questions, you can stay on with me for a little bit. If not, I thank you for your time. hopefully have answered some questions. If not, please reach out to us in the front office. I'm happy to have a chat, Zoom chat, or email with you, but I prefer to have an actual conversation. So just works better for me.
So, Mr. Ort, just a quick question before folks start taking off. What can people expect in terms of future communications? So as we start to inch toward the February 18th date with students, what can we expect in terms of timeline with further information, student placement information perhaps, or other types of things we should be watching for?
Yeah, so each week on Friday, obviously there's a newsletter that I give you the most up-to-date information with. But on top of that, Ms. Gomez and I are planning different videos and tutorials that your student and yourself can look and get a look at what the school looks like from the inside. We want you to feel comfortable that as your student is entering the school, you know what your student's day is going to look like. Also, after the 25th, Ms. Gomez has created a return to learn packet that will be going out. We can email that to you. We'll have some hard copies in the office if you'd rather have a hard copy, but the digital copy will have links to different information that you're going to want and need. And, one of the things that I wrote down is the band instruments. I've got to find out where are we going to put those and work with Ms. Pedersen on, what's good for her, what's good for the students, because I don't want them carrying around, their instrument all day, because last time I checked, those weren't cheap. So, there's a bunch of different things that could come up. That's why I'm hoping, like, as many questions as you're willing to ask now. I plan on every week updating you with more and more information about what the day is going to look like, what things your student may need to be aware of when they're entering the classroom, like if their MacBook's not charged, where is the charging station? Just little things like that. So we will be on a weekly basis updating you, but I would say after the 25th would be when most of the information is going to be coming out. And when it comes to the enrollment part, if you have questions and you're not sure, that's what we're here for. Please call. If you have specific questions that would affect your answer on your return to learn survey, please call. And, if you have a specific circumstance where you'd like to see if your day could be Thursday, Friday versus Monday, Tuesday, if we can work that out, I'm going to do what I can to make sure that that gets accommodated for you.
Jason, can I step in here for just 1 minute about transportation?
Please.
For those that are still online, if you go to the Avondale webpage, the most current bus routes have been posted. If you have questions, myself, Michelle, and Belinda are available every day here in the office. We'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions.
One of the parents asked if I can send the slideshow of tonight's meeting. Yes, I'll be including that in the newsletter on this Friday. So do expect to have full access to that. And then if you have any questions, like I said before then, please reach out to us.
Hi, Mr. Wood. It's the Axis. We have a question for you. We are concerned about the massive amount of screen time our kids have. Is there any way our kids will be going back in person? Is there any way they can kind of detach from the screen and engage directly with their teacher while in the classroom?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's not totally out of the realm of possibilities. The reason the screen would be up is so they can interact with their counterparts at home. But when the teacher's instructing from it will be unfortunately from their desk, from Zoom, they will have that face-to-face interaction. The reason the screen would be open though is that screen is the teacher's whiteboard. It's the teacher's chalkboard, whatever the different interactive tools that the teacher's using are in that screen. I agree as a parent, the screen time is not ideal. I want my kids off it as well. My kids are on the screen constantly, and it drives me nuts. The problem is with some of our social distancing, measures that we have to follow. It's the only way to allow us to do it. But the students will be allowed to like half shut their screen, listen to their teacher, open up their screen. That's not something, it'll be a class by class, lesson by lesson basis. But that's still things that some of our teachers are working out, because it's going to be difficult for our teachers to monitor both. Now they're monitoring the 12 kids on screen and the 12 kids in class and giving them equal instructional time. So that's the reason we stuck with Zoom, is it's the most equitable way to make sure that we're not targeting and focusing on just the InSeat. We're also allowing the remote students into that instructional practice as well. But Mr. Axe, I agree with you that it is a concerning thing, but unfortunately it's the tool that we have to use right now until we get a little bit more of a level A. I know we got rid of the levels, but until we know it's close to normal again. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Ort, I actually have a question, and this might be something that Dr. Schwartz and any board members can help answer. I see that they were talking about winter sports. Has anything been heard from MHSAA concerning wrestling?
Well, being a former head wrestling coach, I'll throw myself under the bus right now. All I know from the high school standpoint is that they're allowing non-contact conditioning. From the middle school standpoint, from what I've heard, they're going to allow it. If my personal opinion, I do have some issues with it. Even though wrestling, almost paid for my college. So when it comes to wrestling, I want the kids on the mat. But I just don't know if it's the right time and the right sport to be pushing right now. But that's my personal opinion. With that though, we're having more schools say they don't want to push wrestling, which is forcing us to travel further to get a full competitive schedule. So I talked with Mr. Gust this afternoon and early evening. So what we want to do is, if we can't run a sports schedule, instead of a fitness club, maybe run some type of IM intramural type thing, if possible. We're tossing around a lot of different ideas. We're just waiting to see. We're kind of at the mercy of, Rochester isn't running anything. Troy's saying we're sticking with Troy. We're only competing with Troy. So that leaves us with how many different people. And I don't know if I want our middle schoolers going all the way out to Lapeer, for a dual wrestling meet. So.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out if you hear more things, you have more questions when it comes to that stuff. Trust me, I want the kids on the mat. I want them on the court. But if you said choose between your 8th grade and your varsity, we got to give those varsity kids every last shot they got.
Yeah, and that's my concern. Is my son is an 8th grader and he's going to be going into high school.
Yeah,
and possibly walk on varsity because of his weight.
Yeah.
So I want to try and get him some experience and back on the mat before that happens.
Yeah.
But thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, this time I'll hang out for a little bit, but if you're all set, that is the end. Feel free to stand if you have a specific question, or feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer anything. Thank you for attending tonight, and I appreciate all the questions, and please keep them coming and check the newsletters, and don't be afraid. I'm going to sound like a broken record. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask. You need that information. You know, I didn't sign up to be an online principal. I want my kids back. Sorry. And but you need to make sure your family's safe, and you need to make sure you have the right information to make the right choice for your child. So please make sure you get that information. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have
Mr.
question, please.
I do have a question. Is
Yes.
there a way to monitor, like I saw Lily would be using the laptop for watching YouTube outside of school hours and wanted to limit that. Is there a way to monitor what sites they're going to or to restrict it? Like I can restrict things on my iPhone, but I don't know how to manage a Chromebook.
Yeah, I've been having some issues with that too, because I say no TikTok and my daughters end up going on YouTube TikTok. So, so you know, what I can say is that's something that our technology department is going to be better suited to answer. I know that some of that at the school itself will be filtered and will be blocked. But it's every time you block one site, a new one pops up. So one thing I do with my daughters is check their history. So, but I never tell them I check history. I just check it when they're not looking. So, because then they'll start trying to clear history. So, yeah, unfortunately, in the Parenting 101 class, they haven't given us all the tech tips yet.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah, if there's specific questions, feel free to reach out to me. And if, like the YouTube question, Bruce and Mike are very helpful. They may have some simple fixes. Like I know Comcast, you can control, or Xfinity, you control those things at home. Sometimes AT&T does. There's little things you can do to make it a little bit more difficult for them to get on at home. But the Chromebooks, you're right. It's not a perfect system. Apple's a little bit more snobby.
Yeah.
Just so you know too, all of our Google platforms are monitored by a program called Gaggle that gives us an alert if kids are using profanity or any kind of like violent kind of conversations. But also what I find to be more important is that it flags for any kind of suicidal thoughts or words. So we do monitor that pretty closely. So any of their platforms, like their email or their Google Docs or their slideshows, are all filtered through that program.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Sure.
Now, for the kids who are going back in seat, is there a way for the teachers to mimic their screen up on the board, on the big screen in the front of the class, so they don't have to be looking at small device screens?
Yes.
Okay.
You had a question, Mr. Ort. Can we expect staffing changes?
As of right now, I would expect your student to have the exact same schedule. If there was any type of staffing change, it would be very minor. But that's something that, depending on the return to learn surveys, that that would change. But based on what we're seeing, based on the discussions I've had with Dr. Schwartz and my counselors, I don't foresee any staffing changes. Let's say it would be on the most disruptive I could see is possibly one class, but I would be surprised if that happened.
And certainly not to the extent that we were discussing in the fall.
Yeah, no, not at all, not at all.
Mrs. Gomes, I see your replies on my question. Thank you for your reply. I missed the first part, like how I do the app for the bus rider, please.
The ClearToGo app.
Yeah. It's for the bus rider as well, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Any student that is going in seat will need to download the ClearToGo app, and that will be their ticket to entry for the day.
If your student doesn't have like a cell phone or something that they can show their bus driver, we're working on some different options for students who don't have their own personal device to show the bus driver. So we'll communicate more as we come up with better ideas. But if you have an idea too, if your student doesn't have a cell phone, you can, if you have an idea of how that might be something that would be workable, let us know.
Understood. Thank you.
I got a question.
Okay.
Where do you post a weekly newsletter?
On the main website, and then on the left-hand side of it, you'll see Mustang News, and that will take you to the newest newsletters. And then on the left, all the way to the left, it'll say Mustang News, and it'll take you to the archive of all the letters from this year.
Okay.
Another question, please. Is there a schedule or map for the bus numbers and everything? Since my son is 6th grade, first year in middle school, so I don't have any information.
That's something that part of Mr. Kachi's in charge of our busing. I wanted to talk with him before I released all that and find out, okay, how many buses do I have? Have there been changes because of, the different, the remote learning and the hybrid learning? So yes, we will, part of Ms. Gomez's Return to Learn packet will include all that information.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Alexander too, if you want to make an appointment to come up and walk through the building, we can make an appointment for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will give you a call tomorrow, okay? Thank you.
This is Ken again from Transportation. Answered a little bit more of that question. If you go to the webpage right now, the bus stops that are posted would be the bus stops that if we were under normal circumstances. It's just to help you make a decision of what bus stop you might want to use and decide if you're going to use transportation. Eventually, some of those stops will be eliminated if they're not being used, if that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yep, more final schedule then will be changed and posted.
We have another question, Jason. Will students and teachers be given time to adjust to the environment and circumstances along sort of curriculum, homework, testing? Are we going to have sort of like an adjustment time?
Were you tickling me or scratching me?
Could you repeat that?
So the question was, will students and teachers have some time to adjust to the new environment and circumstances? So along the lines of homework and curriculum and testing, will we have sort of an adjustment time period?
Yeah, there's going to be some needed time adjustment, but that's something that we're going to be going over as a staff on what that would look like in the time frame. The intention is to try to keep the flow of education and instruction as consistent as possible. But obviously, for those students that are coming in seat, they are going to need that adjustment time. So that's something I would anticipate the staff having some say-so in what that looks like, and we have not discussed that yet as a staff.
We do have some adjustment that we'll do too through roundups and whatnot about how the system's going to work with kids. So we will be using Roundup to talk about passing time in the hallway and bathroom usage and that too. So there will be some crossover time. Like, so some of those lessons will happen before we actually come back in the building, just so students are prepared before they come in.
So I have a question, since they go back on the 18th and the 17th is a Wednesday, and you're coming off of midwinter break, are they all remote on that Wednesday?
Yeah, that will most likely be in this asynchronous day.
Okay.
So
So they'll go from midwinter break to asynchronous and then start their Thursday, Friday schedule?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I was going to give it another minute or two if there's any more questions, and then I was going to end the meeting. So if you have any other questions, please put them in the chat or ask away.
You see a thing here, they're looking for where the bus information is posted. It is under the transportation department, or it's on the middle school webpage under transportation. Feel free to reach out to me if you need any other information.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The laptop does not have to be a Chromebook. It can be any type of laptop. You know, it can be Apple. The Chromebook is just the one that our district is using. Really, Chrome is what they will have to use Chrome to have access to all the different features teachers use. But the brand does not have to be a Chromebook. All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. And I appreciate your attendance, and reach out if you have any questions.